Greetings, Mindcrafters, and welcome to episode number something, The Amazing Adult ADHD Mind. And there will be a few of these, not sure how many yet, because there's just so much to say. You know, with a focus on, like I said, adults, and, you know, how things are different for us with this difference in wiring, I guess. And right away, I think I'd like to start out with ADHD is a misnomer, which I stated publicly about a year and a half ago for a TED Talk, because that's been something that's been driving me crazy for a couple of decades. So I finally voiced it, which, you know, was wonderfully fulfilling, for lack of a better word. And so think of the letters here, ADHD. So the A for attention, we'll keep that one, because we know it's about attention. However, anyone who is in the Fast Mind Club with me knows that ADHD is about anything but a lack or deficit of attention. And here comes the golden retriever. Say hi, Giovanni. In fact, it's anything but a deficit of attention. We're paying attention to as much of our surroundings as is humanly possible from a cognitive perspective. And since the brain is wired to do exactly one thing at a time, which means multitasking is a myth, it just doesn't exist. What that is a very quick shift in attention. And those of us in the Fast Mind Club are really good at a quick shift in attention. And so really, it's kind of like, my head is like a nest of hummingbirds. Just bzz, zip, 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 in and out, in and out. Interesting, then it's not, then it is, and it isn't. Buzz, 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 and the chatter, then the process. All day, every day, 24/7, plus leap year, okay? So there's the A for attention, we're keeping that. The AD, the deficit, which is just a lousy word, you know, falls into that shame category again, like disorder. So, and it's just not true. There is no deficit of attention. We've got the patent on attention. It's just directed all over the place, or has no direction. Let's just say that. So we're going to say an S for surplus. So attention surplus. And then we've got the H for hyperactive. And I'm not sure kids even want to be labeled as hyperactive, but I know at a fabulous 56, I don't really appreciate being, you know, labeled as hyperactive. And so, you know, think about that. This has a negative connotation. If somebody says, oh, here, so-and-so is going to come over and they're so hyperactive, you're going to love them. And no, of course, no one says that, and you'd be saying to yourself, really, I'm going to love them? You just said they were hyperactive. I picture that person being annoying, talking too much, probably being loud, maybe even getting in my bubble, which no one likes. And it just isn't, you know, really positive adjective to use, is it? So I definitely want to swap that out to high energy, because it's a nicer word, and I think it's more accurate, right? When I picture somebody saying, oh, so-and-so's so high energy, there's another beaver pond, it's spectacular. So-and-so's so high energy, I picture somebody kind of bouncing in yoga pants, you know, really positive, good vibe, and maybe has some wisdom going on, but, you know, just, it's a good word. So attention surplus, high energy, and we all know how I feel about disorder, the word disorder. I just think we can all do the world a favor by deleting it in whatever language or languages you speak, and just kind of eradicate that word off the planet, because it's a shame word, and it being labeled with this, you know, the world's hard enough. I think most of us would agree at times, right? So to have a label that, you know, strongly implies something's wrong with us, which it is not, you know, it just needs to go. We don't need to feel less than and flawed and defective. No one needs that. So instead, I'd swap it out with G for gift, because here's the thing. When any of us have something extra to deal with, whether it's ADHD or the autism spectrum or anxiety, depression, you know, whatever it is, fill in the blank, bipolar, typically there's a gift in there, the bless and the mess, as they say. And we tend to kind of shine in a way that's different from neurotypicals. And I personally believe everybody's got something to bring to the table anyway. But we tend to be, for the ADHD crew, the Fast Mind Club, we are incredibly we have a very natural gift for creativity and innovation, just very, very natural. And let's say William Dodson, I think, is who I was just reading this article, but typically even by high school, by like the end of high school, those in the ADHD club are, solving problems that left most everybody else stumped. And it's because our minds are wired to wander. Actually, all of our minds are wired to wander. However, those of us in the Fast Mind Club, ours are really wired to wander. So when that other, neurotypical adult is sitting in that incredibly boring, meeting, professional meeting, being a grown-up, which is great. I don't want to, that's a good thing. Thinking to herself, oh, I really want to write this book, but wait a minute, I'm in this really important professional meeting, so I'll do that later. And they can kind of compartmentalize like that, put it off, listen and take in the deets of the really boring meeting. Meanwhile, their colleague right next to her, isn't do it. There's no breaks on that, right? So meanwhile, the book is like circling. They're nodding and smiling at whoever's presenting, and then they walk out of that meeting and they got nothing as far as what happened in the meeting, but they got the first 3 chapters of the book written. And so obviously that has its downsides in both the academic and workplace environments, though it's also how, books get written, scripts or plays get written, films get made, things get invented, businesses get started. JetBlue guy there, the CEO's in my club, and Leonardo da Vinci's another one, Whoopi Goldberg is another one. My favorite, I've got 2, Oprah's my very close friend. Robin Williams is an all-time favorite, and he's kind of the poster face for ADHD, or ASHG, right? And so we're going to talk about this in a series, and it's just so the adults in the Fast Mind Club listening, that get ready for some validation, because those of us who've been around the block a few times, like once you come into this wisdom with this and what it's like to be attentionally different, it's wonderful and it's amazing, and it's also it's just such a great feeling to be at a stage of life where you can kind of put the pieces together, because the pieces were not together most of my life. You're not really understanding, why my curiosity led me into a mischievous place, younger, just needing to know how things work, so I take it all apart or whatever. Just not understanding why I was different, not understanding why it didn't always gel with neurotypical rules in the world. And that's something that William Dodson talks about too. He writes for ADD too, and he just came into my mind at this moment, big surprise. And here's what it is, grown-ups out there in the Fast Mind Club, is we are born into this world with like the neurotypical's operating manual to operate their world by their rules, and it doesn't work for us. It does not work for us. We need our own manual, which at 56 I have since written, actually a while ago. Not literally written, but I know what my rules are. I know, because we are operating on an entirely different nervous system. We operate on an interest-based nervous system, which is very, very, very different from the neurotypicals, and they can navigate their world with their nervous system, and we need to navigate this world by our own manual, understanding that we were born with this interest-based nervous system, and that we're not, there's no deficit, we're not at a cognitive deficit. We think differently, and we have insanely high scores on usually typically tests that involve divergent thinking, which of course is the creativity and the innovation piece, which also stretches out to problem solving, like I said, and all of that. And so we're going to talk about stereotypes. We're going to talk about what to do. We're going to talk about just the whole process, and really kind of coming into this as a grown-up, and never mind. The shame stuff that has happened along the way, because I know for sure I've definitely had my share of that along the way too. And we're going to, the plan is to have it all come together, because it's not just that stereotypical Dennis the Menace with his slingshot in his back pocket who is in the Fast Mind Club. That's just, that's one face of ADHD, just one, because women have it, girls have it, anybody in between boys and girls and men and women has it. And all different ages have. In fact, quickly before I'm going to keep this brief, I was at a conference not that long ago in Burlington on ADHD, and Stephanie, what is her last name? It'll come to me. She was great, and she's written a bunch of books. She's really good. And there was a woman behind me who was 72 years old when she was diagnosed. And listening to her, I was kind of trying to maintain composure in this professional environment, because I wanted to just crack down the middle and just cry for her, for me, for anyone else who's doesn't fit the Dennis the Menace mold and came into it putting the pieces together a little later on. She said, I never ever got it. I didn't know why I was being yelled at, didn't know why I was having all these consequences, didn't know why it was so hard for me to stay with a job, I didn't know why it was so hard for me in school, I didn't know why it was so hard for me with relationships, and didn't know why, this is my word, I was volcanoing, which is what I call it with my youngest, who's also in my club. And imagine going all the way to 72 and just thinking you're some kind of damaged goods. My heart was breaking for her. And so anyway, we're going to talk about all this stuff, especially the emotional component of ADHD, which was pretty much left out until relatively recently. So a lot of parents walking around out there feeling like they're not doing that right either. You know, not having maybe having the patience to sit with a teenager who needs you to the whole time. And emotionally we get stuck in all this. So all that is coming. This is kind of like it's like an appetizer. It's like a really good appetizer, which is like, appetizers are meant to, I'm a big fan of appetizers, are meant to get your appetite going, right? So this first amazing adult ADHD vlog is meant to get you excited and get your appetite rolling. Okay, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.